the Scripture really is all about the blessing. It was the mandate that God had given, or the resource God had given Adam in order to fulfill his mandate or his assignment, and he lost it right from the get-go. I mean, by his independence and his rebellion against God and choosing other than what God had told him, and as a result of that, he stepped out from under the blessing. And the blessing was the presence of God and the favor of God and the resources of God being released on your behalf. And he needed that to fulfill the assignment. So when it says in Genesis 1:28, and God blessed him and blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion, the prerequisite for those 5 assignments was he blessed them. They needed his favor, they needed his presence, they needed his resources released on their behalf in order to accomplish that. When Adam sinned, he came out from under that and was basically winging it on his own strength. He was under the influence of a fallen cherub, and as a result of that influence, even though he was hardwired to govern, even though he was hardwired to set up governance here on earth, it was influenced by a fallen cherub called Satan. And Adam, he did govern and set up all sorts of different governments here on earth, but they were all under sin consciousness. They were never what God intended for him to have. That's why Jesus came along, or the children of Israel came along, or God through covenant introduced a covenantal promise, and that was that he would set up the kingdom of heaven, which was contrary to the kingdoms that were being set up. It's why when Jesus was being tempted of the devil in Mark the 4th chapter, when the devil took him up onto a high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of this world over in the book of Luke, in chapter 4 it says there that he told Jesus, all of these kingdoms are mine. They all belong to me, and I can give them to you if you will just bow down and worship me. Well, where did he get the authority to say they were his? Well, he didn't have the authority, except he usurped Adam's authority. Adam's still in charge. Man is still in charge, not the devil. But man's governances are under the influence of sin and under the influence of satanic and spiritual influence. And so Jesus came along to fix that. And part of fixing everything was to bring the blessing back in. He found Abraham and told Abraham, I'll bless you, and those who bless you, I'll bless them, and all the families in the world will be blessed. He told Isaac, he passed the blessing to Isaac and Jacob, and then down to the children of Israel. And this blessing kept rolling the whole way down, God trying to get the blessing in. And then, ultimately, when Jesus came and he died and rose again, he gave back to man what man had been disconnected from. I know they had a form of it through the law, they had a form of it through certain acts of obedience, but it wasn't the full blessing, but it was better than anyone else had, and it caused them as a nation to stand out from everybody else because God's favor and God's presence in the ark and the pillar of cloud, pillar of fire, that was with them, and God's resources was released on their behalf. And it was not to the intensity that God originally intended and hoped, but Jesus fixed that.